If we could travel back in time, some 3,000 years ago, we would find ourselves in a land of great power and startling ambition. This was the heartland of the Assyrian Empire, a civilization that rose and fell in what is now modern-day northern Iraq. The story of Assyria unfolds along the fertile banks of the Tigris River, a place where great cities were built and powerful kings ruled with absolute authority. From roughly the 14th century BC until its dramatic collapse around 609 BC, Assyria dominated the ancient Near East. It was an empire built on military might, sophisticated administration, and a profound understanding of the power of images. The Assyrians were more than just conquerors, they were master storytellers. But their stories were not written only on clay tablets, they were carved in stone, on a monumental scale. These sculptures were designed to awe, to intimidate, and to communicate a very specific message about the nature of power and the order of the cosmos. To walk through the halls of an Assyrian palace was to walk through a carefully constructed narrative of royal achievement and divine favor. Every carved panel, every towering statue was a chapter in the epic story of the king and his empire, a story meant to be read by gods and mortals alike for all eternity. To understand Assyrian sculpture is to understand the Assyrian mind. It is to see the world through their eyes, a world of constant struggle, divine will, and the supreme importance of the king as the intermediary between the heavens and the earth. These artworks are not merely decorative, they are historical documents, political propaganda, and theological statements all rolled into one. They offer us a direct, unfiltered glimpse into the values and beliefs of a civilization that, for a time, was the most powerful on earth. The art of the Assyrians was not created in a vacuum. It was born in and designed for some of the most magnificent cities the ancient world had ever seen. Capitals like Nimrud, Khorsabad, and the legendary Nineveh were the epicenters of imperial power. These were not just places where people lived, they were vast, sprawling complexes designed to project an image of overwhelming strength and cosmic order. Imagine approaching Nineveh in the 7th century BC, a city protected by massive walls stretching for miles, punctuated by 15 great gates. It was a statement of power before you even set foot inside. The sheer scale was intended to diminish the visitor and exalt the king. Inside these cities, the royal palaces were the true heart of the empire. These were not simply royal residences, they were administrative headquarters, religious centers, and vast storehouses of wealth. The palace of King Ashurbanipal at Nineveh, or Sargon II at Khorsabad, was a labyrinth of courtyards, throne rooms, and private chambers. Each space was carefully orchestrated to create a specific experience for the visitor, whether a humble subject or a foreign ambassador. The journey through the palace was a journey into the very heart of Assyrian power, and the stone reliefs that lined the walls were the script for this immersive political theater, guiding the visitor's emotions and thoughts. The environment itself shaped this artistic vision. The plains of northern Mesopotamia offered little in the way of high-quality building stone like marble. Instead, the Assyrians became masters of mud brick for their architecture, creating colossal structures from the very earth beneath their feet. For their sculptures, they quarried vast quantities of gypsum alabaster from the surrounding hills. This stone was relatively soft and easy to carve with intricate detail, but it was also susceptible to erosion and damage. This is why the reliefs were placed indoors, lining the palace walls, protected from the elements where their messages could be preserved. This setting, the grand city, the monumental palace, the use of local materials, is crucial to understanding the art. The sculptures were intrinsically linked to their architectural context. They were not standalone pieces to be admired in a gallery. They were an integral part of the building's fabric and function. The low-relief carvings created a continuous visual narrative that flowed from room to room, their stories unfolding as one moved through the space. The impressive scale of the architecture and the detailed storytelling of the sculptures worked together, reinforcing a single, powerful message. The king of Assyria was the master of the world, sanctioned by the gods. As we step inside these palaces, we are immediately confronted by a recurring cast of characters, each playing a vital role in the Assyrian story. The star of the show, without question, is the king. He is depicted everywhere, always identifiable by his distinctive royal attire, conical hat, and meticulously curled beard. He is never shown as a mere mortal, whether he is leading his army in battle, performing a sacred ritual, or hunting ferocious lions. He is portrayed as a figure of immense strength, piety, and control. The king is the hero of every narrative, the central pillar upon which the entire empire rests. His image is a symbol of stability and divine mandate. Guarding the thresholds and gateways are the most fantastical and iconic of all Assyrian creations, the Lamassu. These are colossal hybrid creatures, composite beings with the body of a bull or lion, the wings of a great eagle, and the head of a human king. They are awe-inspiring and slightly unnerving, designed to be powerful apotropaic figures, supernatural guardians that ward off evil and chaos. Placed at the entrances to important rooms, they served as a magical barrier, ensuring that only those with good intentions could pass. Their presence immediately established the sacred and protected nature of the space within, a realm under the king's divine protection. The world depicted on the palace walls is teeming with other figures. We see Assyrian soldiers with their pointed helmets and scaled armor, marching in perfect formation, besieging enemy cities with formidable war machines. We see foreign captives, stripped of their finery, being led away into exile, a stark warning to any who would dare defy Assyrian rule. And we see supernatural beings, such as winged genies, often depicted with a bucket and cone, performing purification rituals. These spirits, known as Apkallu, were believed to protect the king and the palace from unseen malevolent forces, ensuring the purity and sanctity of the royal court. Finally, there are the animals, most notably the lions. In Assyrian art, the lion is the ultimate symbol of wild, untamed nature, a force of chaos that only the king can master. The famous lion hunt reliefs are not records of a sporting pastime, they are profound allegorical statements. By showing the king single-handedly defeating these powerful beasts, the sculptures demonstrated his ability to impose order on a chaotic world. Every character carved in stone, from the king himself to the humblest enemy soldier or the most fearsome lion, had a specific role to play in this grand state-sponsored drama of power and control. The creation of these vast sculptural programs was a monumental undertaking, requiring immense logistical organization and artistic skill. The process began not in the palace but in the quarries. Large teams of laborers would hew enormous blocks of gypsum alabaster or limestone from the earth. These massive slabs, sometimes weighing many tons, would then be transported to the city, a feat of engineering in itself. They were likely dragged on wooden sledges over rollers or floated down the Tigris River on rafts. The sheer effort involved speaks to the importance the Assyrians placed on this form of artistic expression. Once the stone slabs arrived at the palace construction site, they were positioned against the mud brick walls, forming a continuous stone wainscoting. It was only then that the master sculptors and their apprentices began their work. The design would likely have been drawn onto the flat surface first, perhaps using charcoal. A senior artist would have laid out the main composition, ensuring it conformed to the strict artistic conventions and narrative requirements dictated by the king and his scribes. The Assyrian style was highly conservative. Innovation was less valued than the correct and clear communication of the intended message. The carving process itself was a meticulous and labor-intensive craft. The sculptors worked with simple tools made of bronze and later iron. They used chisels, points, and drills to carefully cut away the background stone, leaving the figures raised in low relief. This technique, known as bas relief, was ideal for creating detailed narrative scenes that could be read like a comic strip. Fine details, such as the intricate patterns on clothing, the musculature of men and animals, and the individual curls of a beard, were painstakingly incised onto the surface. The level of precision is astonishing, a testament to the patience and expertise of these ancient craftsmen. The final step was often the application of paint. Although very little of it survives today, we have evidence that these sculptures were once brightly colored. Pigments made from ground minerals would have been used to pick out details, making the scenes even more vivid and lifelike. Imagine these halls not as monochrome stone galleries but as vibrant, colorful spaces, with the king's robes painted in rich hues and the blood of lions rendered in startling crimson. This final layer of paint would have completed the illusion, transforming the stone walls into a dynamic and immersive experience, bringing the stories of the king's glorious deeds to life for all who entered. The Assyrians did not create art for art's sake. Every single sculpture had a clear and deliberate purpose, serving as a powerful tool of the state. The primary function of this art was propaganda. It was designed to communicate and reinforce the absolute power of the king and the might of his empire. For the foreign dignitaries and tribute bearers who were led through these halls, the message was unmistakable. The endless scenes of Assyrian military victories, crushed enemies, and subjugated peoples were a calculated form of psychological warfare. They were a clear warning: this is what happens to those who resist Assyria. Beyond intimidation, the sculptures served a vital religious and cosmological function. The Assyrians believed their world was protected by the gods, and the king was their chosen representative on earth. His success was a sign of divine favor. The reliefs that show the king performing religious rituals, or being attended by protective genies, reinforced his sacred role. They presented the king not merely as a conqueror, but as the pious high priest, the individual responsible for maintaining the cosmic balance between the divine and human realms. The art was a constant affirmation that the Assyrian state was built upon a correct and proper relationship with the gods. The sculptures also functioned as historical records, albeit highly biased ones. The narrative reliefs are often accompanied by cuneiform inscriptions, the wedge-shaped script of Mesopotamia, which describe the events depicted. These texts and images work together to create a permanent account of the king's reign. They document his military campaigns, his building projects, and his piety. Of course, this is history written exclusively by the victors. Defeats are never shown, and the king's prowess is always exaggerated. The goal was not to create an objective account, but to craft an idealized and eternal legacy for the king. Finally, these artworks were intended for an audience that included the gods themselves. By carving these glorious achievements into stone, the Assyrians believed they were making them permanent and real for all time. They were presenting a record of the king's deeds to the divine powers, demonstrating that he had fulfilled his royal duties to expand the empire and maintain order, as they had ordained. In this sense, the palaces were not just for human eyes. They were sacred spaces, where the king's legacy was inscribed into the very fabric of the cosmos, a plea for continued divine support and a guarantee of his own immortality. Among all the wonders of Assyrian sculpture, nothing captures the imagination quite like the lamassu. These colossal stone sentinels are the signature creation of Assyrian art, a perfect fusion of power, intelligence, and divine mystery. Typically carved from a single massive block of alabaster, they stood guard at the principal gateways of cities and the entrances to throne rooms within the royal palaces. Their sheer size, often towering over 4 meters high, was designed to inspire a sense of profound awe and reverence in all who approached. To pass between two of these magnificent beasts was to leave the ordinary world behind and enter a realm of sacred power. The genius of the lamassu lies in its clever composite design. It combines the body of a bull, symbolizing strength and fertility, or a lion, symbolizing courage and royalty, with the broad wings of an eagle, representing the divine and the celestial. Topping it all is the calm, bearded head of a man, symbolizing intelligence. This man's face is in fact an idealized portrait of the reigning king. The lamassu is therefore a representation of the king's own qualities. He possesses the strength of a bull, the courage of a lion, and the wisdom of a man, all under the protection of the gods. It is a complex and powerful piece of royal symbolism. One of the most remarkable features of the lamassu is that it is sculpted with 5 legs. This is not an anatomical error but a brilliant artistic convention designed to make the creature appear complete from 2 different viewpoints. When you view the lamassu from the front, as you approach the gate, you see 2 legs, and the creature appears static, strong and unmoving, a formidable guardian blocking your path. But as you begin to pass through the gateway and view it from the side, you see 4 legs, with 1 leg forward, giving the distinct impression that the creature is striding along beside you. It is both stationary and in motion at the same time. The lamassu, therefore, is not just a statue, it is an interactive experience. It engages with the visitor as they move through the architectural space. It embodies the core tenets of Assyrian belief: the necessity of divine protection, the overwhelming power of the state, and the central role of the king as the wise and potent ruler. These silent stone guardians encapsulate the essence of the Assyrian worldview. They are a testament to an artistic culture that could blend raw power with sophisticated intellectual and symbolic depth, creating something truly unforgettable that continues to mesmerize us thousands of years later. If the lamassu represents the king's protective power, the royal lion hunt reliefs represent his active, dominating power over the natural world. These sequences, particularly the ones created for King Ashurbanipal at his palace in Nineveh, are widely considered the masterpieces of Assyrian art. They are not simple hunting scenes. They are highly choreographed, ritualistic events that take place within a controlled arena. Lions, captured in the wild, were released from cages into a space enclosed by a circle of soldiers with shields for the king to hunt from his chariot or on foot. This was not a sport, it was a public spectacle, a state ceremony of the highest importance. The artistic detail in these reliefs is breathtaking. The sculptors captured the raw agony and power of the lions with a naturalism and empathy that is startling. We see the animals in every conceivable pose, crouching to spring, roaring in defiance, and writhing in the throes of death, with arrows piercing their bodies. The artist paid incredible attention to the animal's anatomy, depicting taut muscles, bristling manes, and snarling jaws. This sympathetic portrayal of the lions was not accidental. By showing the immense power and ferocity of the beast, the artists simultaneously magnified the even greater power of the king who could defeat it. In stark contrast to the emotional, dynamic portrayal of the lions, the king is always depicted as calm, serene, and in complete control. Whether he is drawing his bow or thrusting his spear, his expression is one of focused determination. He is the embodiment of order, while the lion is the embodiment of chaos. The hunt, therefore, is a powerful allegory for the king's fundamental duty, to protect his people by vanquishing the chaotic and dangerous forces that threaten the ordered world of the empire. It is a symbolic reenactment of the triumph of civilization over wild nature, and of Assyrian order over the chaos of its enemies. These reliefs served as a permanent reminder of the king's supreme martial and ritual prowess. After the hunt, the king would be shown pouring a libation over the bodies of the slain lions, a religious act to appease their spirits and thank the gods for the victory. This final scene cemented the hunt as a sacred duty, not a blood sport. For any visitor to the palace, the message was clear and potent. The man who could master the king of beasts could surely master any human army that dared to challenge him. The lion hunt reliefs are the ultimate expression of royal propaganda, a stunning blend of brutal reality and profound symbolism. The stone walls of the Assyrian palaces are like the pages of a book, rich with information about this ancient society. By reading these reliefs, we can learn an immense amount about their beliefs, their social structure, and even the details of their daily lives. The overwhelming focus on the king tells us that Assyrian society was a strict hierarchy, with the monarch at its absolute apex. His word was law, his power unquestioned. The art reinforces this social order at every turn, showing subjects bowing before him and officials serving his every need. It is a world revolving entirely around a single, divinely appointed ruler. These sculptures are also an invaluable resource for military historians. They provide some of the most detailed and vivid depictions of ancient warfare we have. We can see the different types of soldiers in the Assyrian army, from archers and spearmen to cavalry and charioteers. We see their armor, their weapons, and their formidable siege engines, battering rams and wheeled towers in action. The reliefs meticulously document the methods of Assyrian conquest, the storming of city walls, the taking of booty, and the deportation of entire populations. They are a chillingly effective illustration of the military machine that built and sustained the empire. Beyond the grand narratives of war and ritual, the reliefs offer fascinating glimpses into other aspects of Assyrian life. We see musicians playing lyres and harps during royal banquets. We see servants carrying furniture and preparing food. We see the types of boats they used to cross rivers, the kinds of crops they grew, and the different animals they kept. The intricate carvings of clothing, jewelry, and hairstyles provide a detailed catalog of Assyrian fashion and status symbols. While the focus is always on the elite, these incidental details help us to build a more complete and textured picture of their world. Ultimately, the sculptures reveal a deep-seated Assyrian belief in a divinely sanctioned order. They saw the universe as a place where the forces of chaos were always threatening to encroach, and it was the king's sacred duty to maintain order through constant vigilance, ritual, and military action. Their art reflects a worldview that is both confident and anxious, confident in their own power and divine favor, but anxious about the ever-present threats from beyond the empire's borders. The sculptures are a testament to their attempt to impose a permanent, ordered, and unshakable reality upon a volatile world, carving it into stone for all eternity. The Assyrian Empire eventually crumbled, its great cities sacked and buried by sand, its stories seemingly lost to time, but the stone sculptures endured. When they were unearthed in the mid-19th century, they fundamentally changed our understanding of the ancient world. They revealed a lost civilization of incredible power and sophistication, pushing back the accepted timeline of monumental art and imperial ambition. They provided a tangible link to the world of the Old Testament, bringing names like Nineveh and kings like Sargon to life. For the first time, the modern world could look directly into the face of ancient Assyria. Today, these timeless wonders continue to hold immense importance. For historians and archaeologists, they are primary source documents of unparalleled value. They offer a rich, detailed, and uniquely Assyrian perspective on their history, religion, and culture. They allow us to cross-reference and visualize the accounts of their enemies and neighbors, creating a more nuanced picture of the ancient Near East. The accompanying cuneiform texts unlocked the secrets of their language and administration, opening up a whole new field of study. These reliefs are not just art. They are a library of information carved in stone. For artists and art lovers, Assyrian sculpture remains a source of awe and inspiration. The technical skill of the carvers, the dynamic energy of the compositions, and the sheer narrative power of the reliefs are a testament to the heights of human creativity. The lion hunt scenes in particular are considered among the greatest achievements of relief sculpture from any culture in any period. They demonstrate a mastery of form and an ability to convey emotion and movement that feels incredibly modern. They remind us that the desire to tell powerful stories through images is a fundamental part of the human experience, connecting us across the millennia. Most importantly, Assyrian sculpture challenges us to think about the nature of power, propaganda, and history itself. It forces us to confront how rulers have always used art to shape their image and control the historical narrative. In our own age of mass media and digital imagery, the Assyrian use of sculpture as a tool of state communication feels surprisingly relevant. These ancient carvings are a powerful reminder that images have always had the power to define reality, to inspire loyalty, and to intimidate foes. The secrets of Assyrian sculpture are not just about a lost empire, they are about a timeless human story of ambition, belief, and the enduring power of art.